Lads, lasses, and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mono from Mono CFC, and welcome to Season 2 of Feeling Blue. Let's go. Alright, lads and lasses, welcome back to another retroactive Feeling Blue. Now, as you can probably tell from my voice and from the community post I put out yesterday, I'm not feeling the greatest. I do have to do this though, and you can probably tell my voice is not keeping up with me, having to wear my glasses for the blue light. You know how it is, but we've got Chelsea to talk about, and we've got a very, very good game to talk about. A 5-0 thrashing of Barrow. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this in any way. I think this was a very, very professional performance from us, and every single thing that I'm going to talk about today is going in the good box. Usually we would go from the left to the right. There's nothing going in the opposite boxes for this fixture. Everything that I'm going to talk about today is a positive one, and though there are things that we can nitpick, I don't think there's much point in doing that when we have had such a positive result and we're in such good form, especially with a rotated side. Now, let's get straight into the points. The first thing which I'm going to talk about is specifically just our defense in general. I'm gonna not really talk about individuals, but I do think everyone in our defense, the back line, was very, very good. When we basically gave us the platform to push on and be as expansive in the forward areas because we were so solid defensively. Now, I think Shield had a very, very good game from that central position. I think that's his position now. I think he needs to be playing in that central role and not out left. I think that suits him more. Obviously, we saw Vega come in, and Vega played very well. He always does. He's really, really settled into this team at such a young age, 21, and I think that he can genuinely be one of the rotational players that really will try and push for a starting place in the next year or so. I think he's good enough to do that. Obviously, we saw Chilwell come on late on, not really have much of an impact, but he did kind of... His substitution and in general Gusto going off kind of allowed another player to thrive, and I'll talk about that player a little bit later on. Yeah, in general, obviously we kept another clean sheet. Keeping clean sheets is great. Obviously, Philip Jurgensen getting a clean sheet is good for his confidence, and I think he did very well. He was not very challenged, admittedly, but he had to do some goalkeeping and some defending, and he did that well. I think he was claiming high balls very, very well, helping getting us distributed very quickly as well, which we kind of saw from Sanchez in the last few games, and he's obviously been taught to do that as well. So good to see that our goalkeeper situation is good now. Because we've had some horrific goalkeepers over the years, so it's nice to see that we're getting a more solid goalkeeper, and we can start getting clean sheets again. And in general, we have a solid base with our defense. I think our defense is very settled now in terms of we have the two different setups where we can play with Tosin on the right and be a bit more solid and be a bit more centre-backy, or we can have Gusto like we saw here, or James when he comes back from injury, and we can do the inverting thing. And it's good to see that flexibility and also just the solidity in the team despite the changes. It's really not, obviously the team we're facing, though they kind of switched their formation and didn't really play the way that we know that they can. Obviously they're first in their league, so they are definitely capable of scoring goals. They didn't really show much fight against us because we kind of put the hammer to them so quickly, and that's something that I kind of mentioned in my preview, is that overall in this game that I thought that we needed to kind of show them things that they haven't seen in League 2, things that are exemplary, things that are the standard of a Premier League club. We saw that with a lot of the goals in this game, and let's kind of talk about some of those goals, shall we? The first player that I'm going to talk about here, just because I'm going to be leaving certain players to later because I need to give them more praise. First player I'm going to talk about here is Joao Felix. Now, he didn't get credited for his free kick goal because it hits Farnham in the back and goes in, but I don't care. If I'm being honest, I don't care. I'm giving it to him. It's a free kick. It goes in off the post in my eyes. I don't care if it hits the goalkeeper. That's a goal for Felix. Obviously, it's not going to count, but I think that him scoring, obviously, I always say this, if you get a goal contribution, you usually end up in this box. And not only just him getting a goal contribution, his assist for Nkunku'S first goal was sublime, and kind of that type of quality that I was talking about just there, that little scoop pass that you're just not going to see a scoop pass like that in behind in a League 2 game. It just doesn't happen very often, and we needed to show that quality. And I think Felix in general had a game where he kind of showed that, yeah, I have the tech, I have the panache on the ball, as it were, and just in general, him playing in that 10 role I think really suits him. I think the connection that he has built specifically with Nkunku too is very, very solid. And obviously, as we now know that we've got the conference games, we've got these cup games, we're going to be rotating in this kind of team for the rotated games, or the lower standard games, not the Prem games, obviously. Getting those connections working very quickly and early in the season like this is going to just do us wonders when we get into further into that competition, especially in the conference, which is coming up. We've got a lot of games coming up in the conference, so hopefully these two can keep firing. And let's also talk about his national compadre, Pedro Netto, getting his first goal. I did say that I expected him to get his first goal in my preview. Didn't come in the way that I expected it, and it's a good finish, and it's nice to see him doing his trademark celebration. And obviously the Twitter admin has gone crazy with that, kind of posting about that, which is nice. Really good from him in general. I think that he showed, especially playing in that more comfortable role, that he is willing to take players on, willing to kind of just put his head down and run at people, which admittedly is, you kind of want to see him getting his head up and picking out passes, but it's nice to see him just have the confidence in himself to say, you know what, I don't care, I'm just going to run past you. So we get to saw that from Netto. Obviously good finish from the cross, but yeah, Netto again, he gets a goal contribution, so he goes in. Let's talk about a player that did not get a goal contribution, but I think that his contribution in the game is understated, and I don't think a lot of people would pick up him as or highlight him as a player that I thought played very, very well in terms of the circumstances he was under, and that's Cesare Casadei. I predicted that he was going to start in this holding role from the beginning, but I didn't think he would actually play there. I kind of expected him to play in a bit more of an 8 or 10 role and kind of push up, whilst Vega played in that holding role. But no, Casadei played in the holding role for the majority of the game, and despite some absolute hospital passes that were fired towards him, he dealt with the majority of the things that came his way pretty well. And as I said, in a position that's not his own, and in a position that he's not very comfortable with, obviously being as big as he is, he has to be able to turn and kind of be able to play the ball and be able to turn and play and kind of drive through from that deeper position. And obviously he did that very well. He showed the willingness to try and not only just recycle the ball, but also try and get around and kind of go on the front foot. And obviously from a player that hasn't really played, obviously this was his first start for Chelsea, for a player that hasn't played and isn't playing in the system, for him to have put on a performance that's up to the standard that he did, I think is very admirable, despite him not obviously being world class like a Caicedo or Lavia that would play there. But I think he dealt with what the majority of the things that came well. Obviously, he's also battling for the aerial duels, which we know he's very good at. But obviously we know that Barrow we're going to kind of try and get the aerial duels. Obviously, we know Theo Vassell is so good in the air, so he was kind of trying to deal with him, and we shut them out. So he did pretty well there. Let's talk about a player that, again, got a goal contribution and in general didn't have the greatest first half, but when Chilwell came on and allowed him to kind of open up, we saw what Enzo Maresca was talking about when he said, Misha is Misha. Because I felt like this was a game where he was really allowed to express himself, and he was just bursting in behind players, he was taking players on, he was very... all of his cutbacks that he did were very accurate, and especially because they were on his weaker foot as well, so really good from him. Obviously he gets the assist for Neto's goal, very, very good from him. And in general, I thought that in this game we kind of saw Mudryk playing without pressure, and I feel like that's the main thing, is that if we're going to be playing these two rotated sides, giving him this platform to perform as well as he did in this game, in a less competitive game, in a game with less eyes on it, and a game where he doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders, I think will do him a world of good, because he's very clearly a confidence player, very clearly a player that thrives when he is given the tools to kind of express himself in the way of just, you know what, I've got the pace, I've got the technical ability, I want to take shots from outside the box, I want to cut in on my right foot, I want to run around people as well, I want to use my pace, I want to make those runs in behind. And basically, because Chilwell was playing, it kind of allowed him to do that, because we focused more of our attention, the ball onto the left hand side, which we didn't really do in the first half. First half, obviously, with Gusto playing, we always try and feed it to Gusto, and he'll try and play in that half space and kind of run in behind, get the crosses in, that type of thing. I felt like we kind of replaced Gusto with Mudryk in the second half because Chilwell was never going to really do much, let's be honest. He didn't have the greatest game, I would say, Chilwell, but I mean, he's not played for a while, so I'm not going to put him down too much. I think he did adequately. Obviously, we didn't see any glaring problems from him in that game, so he supported Mudryk very, very well, was playing the ball in behind. And yeah, Mudryk, if he's going to be playing against teams like, obviously I think we've got like Astana, we've got Noah coming up in the Conference League, teams that are very, very low quality, he can thrive against those. They will not have experienced the pace that Mudryk has. He is genuinely one of the most rapid players I've ever watched. It's so insane how quick he is when he gets the ball running and he gets to kind of attack players, and it's nice to see him, as I said, playing Misha is Misha and just with the confidence to kind of go drive at people, because we haven't really seen it in the Prem, because he just seems to get in his own head a lot. He overthinks and he kind of, as I said, he kind of puts himself down in a way, because we've seen that he has the technique, he has the quality. We see it in training every single time that they put out a training video. He's got the tools to be a great player. It just kind of needs to be nurtured in a way, and I felt like he's kind of been thrown in the deep end, being like plucked out of Ukraine, obviously a war-torn country, and leaving his family behind to play in the biggest stage of them all in the Premier League, and I don't think it ever really suited him. On these lower stages with less pressure, I think that's where we can kind of get the best out of him, so hopefully we can continue to do that. From a player that doesn't really thrive on the biggest stage to a player that always thrives whenever he puts on a Chelsea shirt, let's talk about Christopher Nkunku. I mentioned in this game, in my preview, I said specifically the one thing that we needed to do in this game to get goals was feed Nkunku in the box. We did that, and he got a hat-trick, so Mystic Max strikes again, what can I say? Yeah, no, and Christopher Nkunku is just he is such a level above this, and the thing which I love about him is the confidence, right? Because we saw him score the first goal, no balloon. We saw him score the second goal, no balloon. Because he absolutely knew in his heart of hearts that he was scoring 3 goals, and he was saving his balloon for the third goal. He was saving it for the hat-trick. And that is the kind of confidence that I love from a forward, where he just knows, he's like, you know what, I know I'm scoring a hat-trick here. He knew, and I think he kind of understood that from when he got his early goal. He was like, okay, I've got time to kind of revel in this and make my mark on this game. It's so nice going from Nicholas Jackson, who's an excellent player, getting 2 goals and an assist in one game in the Premier League, to going against a lower league side in the Cup and Nkunku scoring a hat-trick. Every single one of our forwards, I believe, or like the main 4 forwards, we have Palmer, Jackson, Nkunku and Madueke, they have all scored hat-tricks now, which is insane, because we didn't really think that we were going to be as good offensively this year. We kind of felt like it was going to be one of those things where we kept a lot of the ball and didn't create too many chances, but Maresca has completely and utterly thrown that in the bin. Yeah, Nkunku, all 3 of his goals are absolute quality. The second one especially, the little back heel, beautiful. The first one, the tidy finish through the goalkeeper, he didn't have to put too much on it. Again, I've spoken about it before. Nkunku in the box is like one of the most deadly players we have in the team, if not the most deadly, and he showed it in this game, because every single time he got the ball in the box, it looked like he was going to score. Excellent performance from him. Man of the match, of course. And let's talk about the final thing. Now, obviously, we're going to put Nkunku in the true blue, because I don't have the poll, because I'm not doing this live, but we all know that Nkunku would get voted for, let's be honest, so he's going there. And I'm going to be doing that to make room for one man, and we all love him at this point. It's Enzo Maresca. This guy has transformed this team, and I know it's Barrow, and people are going to say, oh, it's Barrow, it's Barrow, it's Barrow. Don't be hyping this. Last year, when we played a similar team, a similar quality, we scraped past them 2-1 and had to have a penalty to beat them. We let them absolutely dominate us for periods of the game, and we looked a shadow of a team that could compete for anything. Maresca went into this game and said, you know what, we're going to make a professional performance, we're going to show them the levels, we're going to show the Premier League quality that we have, we're going to absolutely run over this team, send them home and say thanks for visiting, go away. And that's exactly what he did. And it's nice to see him, even in these smaller games that for most people just don't matter. For example, people say, oh, just play all the youth, we don't have to play such a strong team, play all the youth, it doesn't matter. it's nice to see him taking every single competition seriously, taking every single game seriously, and saying, you know what, we want to win every single game. And he mentioned in his presser, he said like a match is a match, or I can't remember what the actual quote was, but he basically said something to the effect of, we take every game as it comes. And he has been doing that successfully, and now we've really gotten a run of form. And the thing which is good about this, right, the reason why I like this performance specifically is because it's a game at Stamford Bridge that we got to see the best of us. We scored loads of goals, we kept a clean sheet, and the crowd didn't cheer for Conor Gallagher, and that's all I care about, if I'm being honest. The crowd did not boo, they did not chant for Conor Gallagher, they were chanting for our actual players, they were getting behind the team, and it now feels, and this is the main thing that I want to point out here, it now feels, and we see the scenes at full time, that the team, the manager, and the fan base is finally starting to get that connection, right? We're finally starting to get that togetherness in the entirety of all of Chelsea, and that's kind of all facilities, from, as I said, from the fans to the players to the coaching staff. To see everyone on the same page is really nice, and yeah, it's good positive vibes. We obviously have to go on next game to a very difficult tie against Brighton and Hove Albion, who have been flying in the league, and we've kind of got a little bit of a rivalry with over the last few years. I say it's a rivalry, it really isn't. We kind of just Brighton are like our annoying little brother. They just don't leave us alone, and we're just like, okay, we don't want to talk to you anymore. Can you go away? But yeah, we have to go on to that game, and Maresca just makes me way more confident for that game than I would be if we were the same Chelsea as we were last year. I felt like if we were going into this game against Brighton with Pochettino, I felt like we would probably get slapped at least 3 or 4-0. In this game, I genuinely feel like we actually have a chance, which is nice, because I feel like we can actually deal with attacking football. The one thing that we haven't really seen from Maresca yet is that, can we break down a low block? Obviously, we saw it in this Barrow game, but that was with a rotated side and against a lower league side. Can we beat a Premier League side with a low block? I guess we'll have to see when we face Nottingham Forest later, but we get another game obviously against Brighton, and hopefully we can get another result there. I'm just loving the football that I'm seeing from Maresca. I'm loving the press conferences, I'm loving the training, I'm loving the fact that even when we are like 4 or 5-0 up in this game, he's still shouting at people and saying, get into your position, stay in your position, and things like that, where he just takes everything so seriously. And that's good, because I'm sick of and tired of having managers and coaching staff that don't take this seriously, and they kind of just go, oh well, it's alright, we lost this game, it's fine. I hate that. You know what? No, we are Chelsea. We are one of the top teams in the league. We are now in top 4, or nearing around top 4 anyway. We're challenging for top 4, which we weren't doing before. And yeah, now I think people are going to start taking us seriously again, because that's the thing which is bugging me over the last few years, is the fact that we have not been a serious institution for the number of years. Enzo Maresca is taking us to being Chelsea again. And I'm going to leave that there. We obviously have our game against Brighton on Saturday. The preview for that, the lead-in, will come out on the Friday beforehand at 7 PM, so look forward to that. I'll leave you guys with the outro. Thanks for watching. Peace. And that was just my Feeling Blue match review for this game. I hope to see you here for the next one. But if you can't wait until then, YouTube reckons you'll enjoy one of these 2 videos on screen in the meantime. Thank you guys so much for watching as ever, and remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on, you Blues.